Higgins, another month, another podcast. Did you bring your 20-sided die?
No, I didn't bring them. I thought you had them.
No, I've got my own 20-sided die.
Well, I got...
Do you have any die?
I don't have any die.
Did you read the book Die?
Yeah, okay. I did do that.
Well, then I guess that'll get us somewhere at least.
Can you roll your 20-sided die for, Dungeons and Dragons reasons to see if you can start this podcast?
Yeah, that's cool. I think when I said I had a die, really, I found a site.
Oh, man, will it make a noise?
I'll add a noise in.
All right.
For sure. What you think? We need at least like a 6 to start this episode?
I think it takes like at least 15 usually to do stuff.
All right. Well, we'll see what we got. Ready?
Yeah, go for it.
It's 14.
I'm just gonna give it to us.
Okay,
as
cool.
our dungeon master.
Yeah.
14 will just squeeze by.
Thank God.
We'll end up getting a few paper cuts though. I know it doesn't make sense. We don't even have a physical copy of the book.
No. Got this iPad though. That's pretty physical.
Yeah, you could cut your finger on that
easily. But instead, let's just talk about this book.
All right.
Welcome back, everybody, to Comrades, Cocktails, and Comics. It's a show where I, Snoop Lynch, and my co-host, Higgins Sturm.
That's me.
That's him right there. Well, together, the two of us, both of us in the same room with 2 mics.
And a dog.
And the dog just happens to be here. It was here last episode, you remember. We're going to go talk about a book and a drink that we're drinking with the book. Isn't that right, Higgins?
Yeah, two drinks.
Friends. We're also friends.
Oh, yeah, we're friends.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That's the comrades part.
Yeah, I'm not really I think about changing it.
But then how will people find us? We've become such a big name.
We are a household name, aren't we?
Yeah.
And plus it would really throw a wrench in the cinematic universe we're working on with Disney. Oh well, I don't know. Back to that another time. This time, though, let's talk about the drinks that you found for us for this month.
Man, we really found I had a little bit of a high pitch thing there. We'll keep it in. But I found five drinks.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Connected to Dungeons and Dragons style games. And we did the first 2.
Yeah, because there's 2 of us.
And we had most of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we pretty much had everything. We picked up a few new tools for the bar.
Yeah.
I got mine in a fancy martini glass.
Yeah, we got a muddler and a spoon, guys.
Yeah.
That's where all your money's going.
It's a pretty good spoon, though.
It's a good spoon.
Yeah. It has a little spirally bit. Yeah, we did pick the first 2 on that list. I think that was just kind of... That wasn't planned, at least by me. I just picked the one that looked the most appealing to me, which I picked... There were 5 dragons, different colors, different shapes and sizes. I picked the blue dragon, which is some kind of martini. You picked the black dragon, which had a little bit of Guinness in it.
Yeah, the black dragon. I don't like Guinness, but man, it's a pretty good drink. It's got, like he said, it's got some Guinness in there.
Mm-hmm.
I muddled those blackberries that we got with the muddler that we got.
Yep.
Into some bourbon and some lime juice, and then I added some grenadine.
Mm-hmm. Later on, you forgot, but you remember just in time.
Yeah, I remember just in time.
Which gives it a little sweetness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were going to put it in there before, but I had to do some quick thinking.
Yeah.
And
so what's the result? What do you think?
It's a good drink.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the Guinness goes in last.
Yeah, which the Guinness is courtesy of one of our friend Kiker's friends.
Yeah, you guys remember Steve? He was on one of the first episodes.
Yeah, and he pops up every now and again in the recordings when he gets home.
He lives with us too.
Yep.
Oh wait, unless he didn't want them to know that.
It's too late now.
It's too late now.
Yeah, should have been here to say otherwise. But thanks to Kiker's friend Benji. Yeah. Just a relaxing Sunday cocktail.
Yeah, there's a lot of hints of blackberry and cherry in there.
That's pretty good, yeah. I'll do like a good blackberry. My drink tastes a lot like a bunch of alcohol mixed together.
Man, what do you know? It is exactly that.
It's...
So there's no chasers mixed in your guy. You got, from the top, some Bombay gin.
Some Bombay gin.
Bombay Sapphire gin. Some dry vermouth.
Yeah, which was from that one podcast where
we also made a martini-esque drink.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it's just good to break out the vermouth again. Because honestly, I thought I'd use that one time and never pick it up again.
Hey
so.
man, we'll be martini broads someday. Can I say broad? Probably not.
Yeah.
All right, and then some blue curacao. That's what goes in there.
So it gives it that special little flavor.
Yeah, it looks blue. Does it taste any blue?
It tastes like alcohol, Higgins. It
All
tastes like
right.
a lot of gin.
I was just wondering if there was any blue in there at all.
Yeah,
You know what
a bit of blue.
You know what blue tastes like.
Well, like each of the dragons had some kind of title in the article. Mine was like the electric sky dragon.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd have a bit more of a different kind of bite, like something a little more tart.
Yeah, I
And
mean, you could add lemon juice to it if you're really feeling crazy.
I may, just because it's not
This is our podcast.
it's not bad by any means, but it wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, you wanted to be able to really knock her back.
Yeah.
You see how almost empty my drink is, and you're like, man, I wish my drink glass was that empty.
I think that says more about our drinking habits than our actual drinks, but sure. That's all right, though. There's 3 other dragon drinks that I and anyone else can try at a later date. Which,
Yeah, they'll be in there.
they're all going to be in the links.
He's going to put them in there by some voodoo magic.
But that's really all I have to say about the drinks this month.
Yeah, no, they're good. They'll get us through.
I do have a good bit more to say about the book that we picked, though.
I have some things. It's pretty confusing, but like I have some things that I
Okay.
can say about it. The whole books was pretty confusing.
Okay, is one of those things you telling us what the book is?
Yeah, it's called Die,
Okay.
not Dice, you ass. I heard you over there. There's only one of them.
Sorry.
And then there's probably
Well,
some
yeah, there's
like,
only one because I'm the only one who brought a die.
well, kinda.
You ass. Got him back.
But
the book is called Die. Specifically, we're talking about Volume 1.
yeah, volume 1, something Heartbreakers,
Close.
something for Heartbreakers.
Heartbreaker Fantasy.
Heartbreaker Fantasy.
Yep.
I knew it was something like that. It's by Kieron Gillen.
Yeah, which you had read some of his work before.
Yeah, I read 2 volumes of The Wicked and the Divine. And for the most part, this is similar but different. The Wicked and Divine's about like gods and like, teens doing their thing in drama and stuff.
Yeah, teen drama.
Yeah, but like mixed in with gods.
Whoa.
I read a snippet of like one of his interviews and he's like, I'm an fantasy writer. And he was like, I really had to come to terms with the fact that that's what I am, but that's what I am.
A lot of long nights.
Looking himself in the eye, and he's like, no, I just write speculation fiction.
Pretty good at it, I'd say.
Yeah, he's throwing a lot of new ideas into an old thing, using a lot of other old things.
There you go. Making an old thing new again.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Yeah, it's exactly what he does with this story. I knew of Kieron Gillen. I never read any of his work before. I knew about The Wicked and the Divine. That's kind of his big claim to fame. He's done a few other things for Marvel and Star Wars. I think he had a Darth Vader run at one point. And then the artist is a girl named Stephanie Hans. I believe.
Stephanie Hans.
She actually, this is her first ongoing comic she's ever worked on. And how she got mixed in with it is she had previously worked on The Wicked and the Divine for 1 volume, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, the art's pretty similar across both of them.
Okay. I guess after that, they kind of kept in touch, and so they decided to work on this book together. They're both credited as creators. I think the initial idea comes from Kieron Gillen. I was reading another interview with him. It's at the back of the book where basically him and a couple other comic people, they were at San Diego Comic-Con and they started talking about this cartoon from the 80s. It was a Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. And apparently it's a similar premise as this book where a bunch of kids get trapped in a D&D-esque game. But with the show, it was canceled before it could air the final episode, which was them getting out of the game and back home.
Yeah,
So-
because why would you want to see that?
Yeah, it's weird because I thought like, oh, maybe it was like 1 season and it was just so terrible that they canceled it. This had 3 seasons and they just scrapped the entire last episode. It was already written, so I don't know what the deal is with that necessarily, but Kieron Gillen obviously, like, it when they brought it back up and he remembered it, it just kind of stuck with him, and so he's he's wondering, what are those kids doing now? And what if they got out? How messed up would they be? And that's the story.
Hey man, they did get out, and now they're like 40.
Yeah, they are 40 and very depressed.
43. Well, the one guy's really depressed, but that like comes into like that's for reasons.
Yeah, sadness helps sometimes. Yeah, I've got a official synopsis here if you don't mind me reading.
Yeah, you can go for it.
Yeah, just in case we're not explaining it, which, let's be honest, is more than likely what's happening.
We'll get around there.
Kieron Gillen teams up with artist supernova Stephanie Hans. Die is a pitch-black fantasy where a group of 40-something adults have to deal with the returning, unearthly horror they only just survived as teenage roleplayers. If Kieron's in a rush, he describes it as goth Jumanji, but that's only the tip of this critically acclaimed obsidian iceberg.
Ooh.
So yeah, and I think we mentioned that when we teased it last episode. It reminded us of Jumanji, but with D&D. But you said something to me earlier today that it's also similar to, and that's It.
Yeah, that scary clown.
Yeah, well, specifically the part where they're all sad, messed up adults that get back together because
they have to stop the thing. Yeah, they have to stop the thing that came back after, like, I don't know, 30 years.
Yeah.
25.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like all three of those things mixed together, which sounds like it wouldn't work, but for the most part, it's pretty good, I think. You said things are confusing, though. Tell me about that.
Man, it's just, they throw a lot of the stuff at you at once. So, like, once you sit in there for a few issues, it's fine. It's just those first two that you're like, man, I don't know what any of these people are talking about. They're like, I'm a dictator, you're blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it goes into it when they're kids. And so you're like, they're about to jump into this thing. And then the next panel's like them coming back.
Mm-hmm. Dog's got an itch.
So you're like, maybe I'm not supposed to know yet. And then they clear it up. Issue 3 is where I actually got into this book. The first two, I was like, man, I don't know about this thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty boring up until then.
Oh, okay. I'd say the first two issues grabbed me pretty much instantly. The third issue, I had to reread just because it was doing something different than the first two issues had, so I guess I wasn't ready for it. And also, it's a lot of references, and there's one part I want to talk about specifically, which, I don't know, it's just, it was weird, but I was on board with the premise pretty much instantly, and I like the setup for it, where we have kind of our main character, whose name is Ash.
Or Dominic.
Yeah, Dominic Ash. And
Dominic in the real world and Ash in the role-playing world.
Yeah. He's just this shy, introverted kid who has a very rich, outgoing, just heck of a guy for his best friend, who they share the same birthday. And so when they turn 16, they decide they're nerds, so they want to have a special Dungeons and Dragons-esque game for their birthday.
They're only nerds because they didn't have an ID for the bar. They said that. They said as much.
Well, they said the pub. They're British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I guess.
I don't know how old you have to be to drink.
16's probably fine in England.
Yeah, but they didn't have that ID. So Dungeons and Dragons it is. Well,
it's probably 18 if we're being honest.
I don't know.
I've watched some British things and people pretty much just drink whenever they want to.
I bet you know everything about British people, don't you?
I watched all 7 seasons of Skins.
The UK version?
The UK version.
Why would you watch the US version?
Because exactly. Because it's bad.
No Nicholas Hoult. No thank you. So yeah, they decide to have this game and they invite over their friends. Solomon is his best friend who makes up this game, who he names it Die. And that is one thing I'm wondering about, where basically they do the traditional stuff that I know of with D&D is, here's your character card, make up your character. They all come up with different things that their characters can do and who they are. And then they're each given one die. Which
is not normal.
I guess, yeah.
You use like all the die.
Okay, yeah.
In the Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
Whoa. Yeah. But in this, it seems like he's assigned kind of like a ranking to each die, because he's given the 20-sided die to himself because he's the dungeon master. He's the GM.
The biggest and the best one. Mm-hmm. The biggest is the best one, right?
I guess so.
That's what they told me in high school.
Cool. But ironically, you were never the biggest one, so...
Man.
You're still pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I did all right.
once they're given the die, they get sucked into the game. They disappear for 2 years, and boom, they're back. But things are different already. We could tell because there were 6 of them when they left. Only 5 came back,
and they
technically 4.5 because one's missing an arm.
Well, like,
Or that'd be 4 and 1/4.
I don't know, probably like a little, like more or less than that, probably. But like, you know, let's not do math.
Let's not dwell on that. They do talk about doing maths later in this book, but then you cut 25 years later. They're all just sad sacks in their 40s, not knowing what they're doing. And the weirdest part is they can't talk about what happened, and we eventually figure out why. But
it's more like can't/won't talk about it type of thing.
Well, it seems like physically they can't.
Yeah.
Because each of their characters that they made have these abilities, and Ash made his character the Dictator. And what that allows him to do is twist and control people's emotions and basically control them. So before they all left, he made them... Before they all left, he made a spell which basically forced them never to speak to anyone about what happened.
Yeah.
And you find out early on the reason is because they don't want more people to know about this.
So they don't get stuck in there.
So they don't get stuck in the game.
That's why that one kid buried Jumanji in the ground.
Yeah.
But then, you know, Jumanji does what Jumanji wants, and there's a heartbeat, and the guy finds it when he's making a house.
Yeah. This is just we're doing a Jumanji commentary as well?
Yeah,
on right now.
Alongside it.
Yeah, made the most sense.
But like, yeah, the same thing. The dice comes back.
Specifically, the 20-sided die, the one that Solomon had because he was the one who got left behind. The former Grandmaster, who was the villain when they were there, snatched him away before they all got out.
Yeah, he grabbed him, and part of that other girl.
And part of that other girl, yeah. He needed an extra arm, I guess. But so yeah, when the die turns back up, that's kind of where you get the it thing we were talking about, where they all decide to meet up again. What I really liked about the characters interacting with each other is they're not really friends.
Yeah, they don't seem to like each other. They tell you specifically, like, the one sad guy. I don't even remember what sad guy's name is.
Matt?
But the one sad guy, yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, Ash or Dominic was like...
Just say Ash.
Yeah, just Ash. He's going to be Ash the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But Ash was like, man, he's the one I'm closest to, and I guess I talked to him 6 years ago.
Yeah, and that may be, like, because of what happened, they may just naturally want to distance themselves from anything that reminds them of that. But even, like, there are some who are close to each other. Like, obviously, Ash's best friend was Solomon, and then his sister is the girl who's missing an arm, and he feels guilty because he brought her along that night. If he hadn't, she never would have been drug into all this. And then you have kind of these outliers, like the ex-girlfriend of Solomon, who was just there because they started dating. They don't really have any other attachment besides that. So when they all come together, there's this weird tension there. One, because all this is getting brought back up again, this thing that they just want to pretend never happened. But also, I mean, it's weird enough to talk to someone who you were good friends with and then just lost touch with. Now they're coming together as people who weren't ever really that close to begin with. They all have this one thing in common, this one horrible thing that happened to them. And it gets them sucked back into the game. And we find out the person behind it is Solomon. That reveal came a lot faster than I was expecting it to.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the boy to just walk out there. But, I mean, like, he's obviously pretty different. And I guess this book does like to just do things all willy-nilly and snappy anyways, because he does it again, like, by the end of this volume.
That's probably my biggest criticism about this book is... on one hand, I do appreciate how it kind of subverts certain tropes and expectations in its storytelling, but I also think it's to its detriment because the relationship between Ash and Solomon specifically, it comes to a head at the very last issue. I don't think there's enough time necessarily spent on that to make me feel anything for the outcome of their battle.
I don't know. I feel like there's plenty of time because, I mean... they're going to do flashbacks more than likely.
You mean in future volumes?
Yeah, in like future volumes, they're probably going to do flashbacks to what happened to them as kids. Because, I mean, you're going to be at this one part, and they're going to be like, I remember this one part.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about this part in 25 years.
I'm thinking about it right now,
I'm thinking about it right now.
Can't stop.
Man, if I could go back 25 years...
Pretty much be right where I'm at.
I would be too. There's no way I'd own a house right now.
No, I think, that's probably fair to assume. And I think it does need to do that because, like I said, it's more of in this first volume because it's at this breakneck speed of events just happening one after the other. I think the world is really well developed. I have a perfect understanding of this game and kind of what, like just the details that's given to it, and you see it in both the writing and the art. On a reread, I noticed something really cool, that the entire world that they're in is a die.
Well, that's just
and
one.
It's separated by regions.
The Earth thing, yeah.
So yeah, they pull up a globe at one point, and then you'll see numbers, and it seems to be, I think, like a 40-sided die, and so each number and the space it inhabits is a separate like ecosystem and region and realm that they go across. So I didn't notice that the first time, and I don't know, I just, like I said, I think that the world building is kind of where they went with first, and these characters they had a general idea for, but maybe early on there wasn't, in my opinion, there wasn't as good of a balance between developing both as there could have been, I guess. It's not bad by any means, it's just, I guess it's a little confusing, and like you said,
it just jump you in too fast, but I think he's doing his thing where he's subverting expectations. He's like, let's get rid of all this stuff that you thought I was going to be doing. Throw that out the window. Now I'll get to the real story, which normally the first volume doesn't really dive you in
that deep.
That deep anyway. So I imagine they'll actually get into like, all the stuff they got to do. Because, man, if it had gone the way that people thought a Dungeons and Dragons type thing would go, they would have been in there. And there was even a part in the book where they're like, man, old Solomon, he gave us a list of things to do. We got to go to 3 dungeons and stop 12 things that are guarding those dungeons at each one.
Yeah.
And then after all that, we got to beat the big boss.
Yeah, in his special home that he's more powerful in, yeah.
And man, that might have been pretty cool, but it also would have been like, man, I know what's going to happen now.
Yeah. I think that is a good example of, again, subverting those expectations, that because that is not where I thought it would go. And the fact that they bring it up. And what I also enjoy about how they went there as teenagers, we didn't really get to see any of that. But what's better about seeing them come back is they're worn down adults. So the second they start hearing the story and they know what it is, they basically just say, fuck that, we're doing our own thing.
And it's like, we're doing it live. And then Ash uses her dictator powers because she's like, man, I hate doing it, but I just keep coming back.
I don't think she does hate, or see, that's kind of brought up as well, which I want to talk about a little bit, not much, but yeah, as far as that character goes, I don't think that Ash hates much of what she's doing. She acts that way, and she says it a lot, but doesn't really keep her from doing it, does it?
No, it doesn't stop her, but like, she's definitely got some fire in her, and that comes with being like, I mean, her like title is dictator. So like, even though maybe her person in the real world might be kind of against it, she's still playing like the fantasy role player who picked, or at least got handed dictator. Yeah. And so it fits her personality in the game, at least.
I do like that a lot, where the second they come back in the world, it's on. Like, they are experienced. They did this for 2 years already. They know exactly what's going to happen, and they know that they can't really mess around or show any mercy, or else they'll probably get killed. And my issues with the pacing aside, I do like that element of it, is we don't have to see an origin of these characters learning their powers and finding confidence in themselves. They know exactly what their abilities are and what they need to do to get out of this game. And it's kind of desperate because, I mean, they kill Solomon in the end after they find out
spoilers.
That they can't. I mean, I'm jumping around, but like, because the way they get out of the game, the way they got out last time, is they all have to it's they call it their clicking their red shoes
Yeah, they have
moment.
to Wizard of Oz it.
They all have to wish to leave the game together.
The game is over.
And so what kept him in this time is Solomon was the new Grand Master, and he went insane, which of course he did because he's been trapped there by himself for 25 years.
Secrets of Nim too. Another thing.
That's a thing, yeah.
Well, no, because Secrets of Nim, the rat friend was the bad guy.
Oh yeah, he is the bad guy, isn't he?
After he gets stuck in the thing for like a long time.
Really should have seen that coming though. Yeah.
Man.
But same thing happens to him. He's been secret of Nimmed, and so
this guy's pulling stuff from everywhere.
He does. He really does. But Ash gives Solomon a little talk at the end because they lure him out when they refuse to play the game the way he wants. I think that's really clever, and they give him one more chance, or Ash specifically gives him one more chance to, let's go home, change his mind. And
let's do this.
When he sees that's not going to happen, he immediately murders him. And I didn't expect it to go that way. Part of me has a problem with it happening by the end of the first volume, but you're right. It's kind of refreshing. Not that this story has been done, really. I mean, this kind of premise has been done, but in this comic, this idea, I've never read this kind of book, but those tropes were completely thrown out the window, and you have this coming in.
And now you don't know where it's going either. You're like, man, who's going to be the big baddie now?
I guess the two that, for whatever reason, decided they're going to stay there.
Well, I mean, they all have their reasons, actually. The world's in shambles because of what they did to stop Solomon in the first volume. And so some people don't have a very good taste in their mouth about that. And they already didn't like Ash to begin with because of dictator reasons. They weren't on good sides. So I think it's a little bit of they don't really like each other, like you said before.
Yeah. I think the turn at the end is a little too fast and maybe not set up well enough, because after they kill Solomon, it's like, okay, he's dead. Now everyone just has to wish to go home, which that's all they've wanted to do this entire time. And then all of a sudden, two of them, you have, was it Chuck, who's the fool? And then the ex-girlfriend, Isabel, who is the God binder.
Yeah,
she
God
can
binder.
basically make pacts with gods and say, hey, do this for me, I owe you a favor. Or she'll do something for them and then they owe her a favor, which that's a cool power set. But yeah, it's just like a flip switched in their head, and they're like, actually, let's just stay here. After rereading it, I kind of see the setup. I just don't think it's enough, because like you mentioned, Isabel is feeling guilty because it's like, oh, we drove these people from their city and now it's in shambles or whatever. But you knew about that plan from the beginning. You helped with that plan, and plus you sent them somewhere else. Like, they didn't just go, they didn't die in the city. You sent them to another city. They're fine. And then Chuck is just kind of an asshole, so he wants to stay because he's like, I'm cool in here. But he had the best life, and so I don't really know what, if anyone would want to stay here, you figured it'd be the real sad guy.
It's with her, she did send them somewhere else, but they tore down the glass town, and that was the only place that was safe from this humongous war.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, they're probably not being sent to a great place. So she's probably feeling guilty about, because before they blew up the glass town thing, it was supposedly impenetrable by the war stuff.
By penetrable
things, yeah. Unless you had the right papers.
Like a really sharp stick, probably.
Yeah. And then Chuck just likes getting his kicks and thrills, and this place has more kicks and thrills than the real world. Maybe he's tired of being a sci-fi writer or a fantasy writer. Maybe he's like Kieron Gillen. He's like, look at what I've become.
I'm tired of making a fortune and ignoring my kids. But and his I can kind of just chalk up to well, he's an idiot. So
that's his character.
But Isabel really threw me because, like I said, she wasn't in that mindset until the last second. And like I said, I see the setup. I just don't buy that it's enough, because that character from the beginning was immediately, let's get out of here. I got to go back home. I got to teach these kids that I hate. and try and pay off my mortgage. Like, yeah, she didn't like her life, but all things considered, I mean, she had both her arms. She was doing fine. She just had to listen to her mom whine about not having grandkids.
Yeah.
But we've all been there.
Hey, she was divorced too, I think.
I listen to your mom whine about not having grandkids all the time.
Yeah.
One day.
One day. I mean, I have a dog. What else can I do?
Yeah, but the dog's here now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all you got to do is either give the dog to her or find a kid.
I could probably find a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, our friends are about to have 2 kids. You think they only need 1, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not going to say that joke. It's not worth putting on there. We can skip that part out.
You can say it and I'll cut it out.
Nah, I'm not going to do that. You have all the power.
That's a good choice.
You're Saul.
I'm 1 martini in. I can do anything. So yeah, that was, like I said, the pacing and then that turn was just a little odd. I do kind of like this setup of the next volume where, and I think it's actually called Split the Party.
Yeah.
Volume 2, where
they're going to split the party.
They have to decide, are we going to kill these 2 to get home, or are we going to try and convince them to come back with us? And what are those 2 going to do to keep themselves in the realm? Like, it's an interesting setup, and I don't really know where it's going to go because they don't really care that much about each other. And so, yeah, they're willing to murder each other to get what they want. And I find that interesting. I don't know where Chuck got that gun. That was really, he just pulled a gun on him at the very end. Maybe lead with that when you go into a fight. He's just swinging around a sword like an idiot. Pull out your gun.
Hey man, he's just lucky though. He doesn't really need a gun.
Yeah.
He's just going to be lucky. And his luck will run out sometimes, but for the most part, he'll just be out there in the middle, just doing his thing, not getting hit by anything.
Kind of hate him.
Yeah, kind of hate him.
I mean, I guess I'm supposed to.
He's just lucky in real life, too.
Yeah, he's lucky in real life.
That's why he's that character.
I guess the smartest thing he did was figure out a way to, like, he found a loophole to profit off of what happened to him. Because the spell that Ash cast way back when made it where they can't talk about anything, but he was able to put it down in writing, just avoiding certain words.
Yeah.
So, good on him for that, I guess.
Yeah, good on him.
They probably should have done something similar, but whatever.
He's got a franchise.
Exactly. What were your thoughts, and I think you kind of mentioned already, what were your thoughts on the heavy World War I Tolkien issue?
Oh, I mean, they just talked about a bunch of his stuff just throughout. Like, they mention like orcs and Tolkien stuff, and like there's dwarfs. He even says like Thorin and stuff like that, which the dwarfs are like 2 different kinds of pop culture. Yeah.
Yeah, they're Snow White.
They're Snow White.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Because one guy's like dour and the other guy's delighted. The one guy's just super happy and the other guy's just super sad.
I like that. There's this kind of this fun. It was definitely the only moment in this first volume where we kind of just got to relax and breathe. It was very fleeting, and it still got brought back around to be really sad because that one guy tells a story about how his mom died from getting appendicitis or something, and it didn't really faze him because he's a robot. But other than that, like, I was delighted to read that story.
Oh yeah, it was super sad. But other Tolkien stuff, I mean, he's same stuff. He mentions dwarfs.
Well, I'm talking about the moment where
England and Prussia fighting each other.
No, well, yes. So I'm talking about the moment where Tolkien actually just shows up.
Oh, I didn't. Is that guy?
Yeah.
The guy that walks up to him and
then disappears.
Is he so he's like the one dude in the trenches with her, and that like sends a big bird with the note?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to reread it because it really threw me because he never shows up again. He's like the Tom Bombadil of this issue. They never just straight up say that it's him, but she does say, "I love your stories about hobbits" or something. And then
okay.
I like a lot what they kind of did with, like, it is a nice little tribute to Tolkien and his history because you do have these 2 warring factions of different kinds of hobbits, the New Englanders or whatever versus Eternal Prussia, and she finds a group of New Englanders who have all died except one, and so while he is dying, he's basically saying like, "Hey, I'm gonna write this letter. Can you send it home to my wife and tell her I'm sorry I'm not going to come home.
And she's like, I don't know that I can tell him that I'm going to do that because I probably won't, but I'm not going to tell him I'm not going to. Then I guess Tolkien showed up with a big bird.
Yeah, because she was asking, like, hey, can you go deliver this letter? I told this guy I'd do it, but really I'm going the other way. And he says, well, I can't leave this realm, but I do have a pretty good way of getting messages out. And then he summons a big eagle that gets shot down.
Yeah, it does get shot down. And that was a little bit of a twist too, because it ends up being like the wizards from that realm that shoot him down.
Exactly.
So that people back home don't stop coming to war, basically. That's what I gathered from it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
They basically just don't want the kids to not come when they're old enough to fight in it.
Yeah, they want them to think war is pretty cool.
Because spring's never going to come. Winter's here forever. Game of Thrones. Got another one.
Nice.
Because that's what spring does come after winter, so.
Yeah.
Man.
Last I checked.
Man, I didn't even notice that when I was reading, but I'm guaranteeing that's where that came from.
Hell yeah. But yeah, it was very strange, that issue. Like I said, I liked it because it's not really harped on too much, I guess, in this first volume, but they do mention we're here. We need to treat it like it's real, even if maybe it's not. And so you're right. He doesn't have to write that letter down. He doesn't have to take it anywhere. You know, in his head, he's not going that way, but he did it anyway because he thinks of this character as a real person. Even though in his head, he knows that's not true, he's still like, just that part of him kind of opens up and gives this dying hobbit his last wish. And it's a very brutal, like, kind of warscape. They just did a really good job of, and I guess this is Stephanie Hans, they just did a good job of kind of what's the trenches World War I mixed with fantasy, and what does a war like that look like? And there's some pretty dark stuff in that. Like, you have that one hobbit that died bringing his comrades back into the safety of the trench, but there was gas, so it eventually just melted his eyes off, and he still went and found the others by touch.
Man,
like,
is that Hacksaw Ridge? Probably right.
Yeah, but what if he didn't make it?
Yeah, what if he didn't make it?
Yeah. Man, you're just full of references today, aren't
you?
I'm
getting them in. But the eye thing like comes up again because when she kills Saul, he like mentions something, or I can't remember exactly how it came up, but she was like, man, that one guy didn't have eyes. The other guy that showed up didn't have eyes.
I thought I didn't have eyes.
Well, Saul didn't have eyes either. They were just like glowing dice, it looked like.
Yeah. It was the Grandmaster's die, and then the one that he used to get him back in the world. I guess it's how he gets his power.
Yeah, and then, but yeah, like there was like a couple of them. I just read it right before we started, but I can't remember for the life of me what the significance of the no eyes was, but there's significance.
It was when she was trying to talk him down into coming back with him. She's like, they had no eyes, like you have no eyes, because you're scared, you can't see what's ahead. Metaphors, probably.
Yeah.
And it turned out, no, he's like, no,
he's gone.
We're
he's
doing
gone
my
loopy.
game.
He's gone loopy.
Yeah. I know that, like, because when that character is killed, he just comes back as, I guess, their version of a zombie demon thing called the Fallen.
Yeah, the Fallen, which is what they called, like, orcs.
Mm-hmm. And they seem to have captured him. So,
which there's a twist on the Fallen, too.
They're the
real life people that came and played and died.
Yes, yeah, and so that explains why he turned into one of them. So any of the Fallen we had seen up until that point, now that they have him captured and he can still talk as of right now, I'm curious to see what they do with that character and the interactions between him and Ash, because they were best friends
/ maybe lovers.
I don't know about
/ maybe lovers.
That's the thing about Ash, and they brought it up, and I don't think they're gonna really kind of go much more into it, but Ash in the real world is a guy. Yes. And so when he makes his character, he's like, I want to be a sexy lady, and then they get sucked into the game, and turns out he's a sexy lady. But while he was in that world, he had a series of romances with other...
Always men.
With men. And so they ask him at one point when they're back in there, like, we didn't really talk about it because we didn't know how to put it into words, but what's your deal? And I like how they handled it. I don't because basically they say, or he says, he monologues to us, basically saying like, you probably think that this is where you get another story that answers this question, a simple answer. Unfortunately, there's not always a simple answer. I don't think that how he is in this world reflects necessarily how he is in the other world. He is married to a woman in the real world, and part of me does think that he loves her. I think it's complicated. I think that he's almost two different people in each of these worlds, and I think that when he's in the world of Die, his more kind of his outgoing side is what's in this version. Like the way he talks, I mean, his powers alone, like how he can control people, that's not who he is in the real world. What we do see, he's very much kind of submissive.
I think it's the same thing though. Like it's a fantasy world, and in a fantasy world, you're gonna be something that you wish you could be, and so that's where that comes in a little bit more than just like saying, oh, it might just be for no reason at all. But usually with like, if it's a duck and looks like a duck and quacks like a duck,
it's a witch.
Probably a duck, right?
Oh.
But no, they handled it well because they're like, I don't remember who stopped that train of
his sister.
Yes, yeah. His sister's like, you know what, guys? It's kind of not our decision to decide if he wants to tell us that or not.
Also, where's my arm?
Which that's Love Simon. He can't just say like, you don't get to make the decision to tell my coming out story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they did, but
you think Kieron Gillen watched all these movies? Probably, right?
I mean, if he didn't, he is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Work him into the next issue. I think it's a good first volume for sure. I think it's got a little bit of issues with its storytelling, and I'd like to see a little bit more character development now that we've got a good sense of what this realm is about. And so, yeah, I'd read more of this.
Yeah, no, I'll read more. But we talked about the art, but not what I didn't like about the art, and that's the fact that she can't draw a face to save her life. Like the only one that she gets like anywhere remotely good is Ash the entire time. Ash looks normal. Everybody else looks like just a big old lump, basically.
He didn't even. Yeah,
they're super flat, but she's drawn like perfect the entire time. That's probably not on purpose. I'm assuming it's just like some people can't draw faces that well.
Huh. I didn't even think about that, but now that like kind of looking back on it, yeah, it is a lot of kind of almost like quick sketches and
just random splotches of color and stuff like that, and they look kind of disgusting. But yeah, like I said, Ash looks about perfect.
I agree with that.
The rest of it's great. Like it's got like the super descender, like ascender, like watercolor backgrounds, and I think all it could use is just like some slightly thicker lines.
You do like a thick line, don't you?
Well, I mean, we're reading a comic book.
Comics come in all shapes and sizes, Higgins.
Not where I'm from.
Well, one thing that I feel like does work in its favor doing the way it did it is adds this kind of separation of reality and fantasy, which is what you want in the setting that they're in. Like you want it to just kind of be this weird ethereal
That would have been
place.
good, but it was pretty much the same in like the real world too, though. If she had like done a full switch, if she had done like a full swap, then like maybe that would have been like a reasonable enough like explanation for it.
Well, that's a good point.
But
do you want to write her? See if she can go back and change it?
Come on, Stephanie Hans, you're really f***ing up.
She's French.
Yeah.
Ooh la la.
Hans. You really messed it up, Stephanie.
I think she's good.
No, she did good. There's a lot of cool stuff.
I think what you said it makes sense though. That is a good idea. If she, I mean, it's too late now. Maybe we could do it. Go back and have that distinction and art styles.
We'll come back in 25 years and be traumatized by the fact that we don't remember this book well enough to remake it, but better.
We just never stopped podcasting and it just got to us.
Somehow I lost an arm. We'll figure that out later.
Dog probably got it.
Yeah, dog probably got it.
Not right now. She's sleeping.
Yeah, she does that.
All your dog does is sleep. And all we do is podcast. But guess what? We're done.
We're done.
Mm-hmm. Well, I say done. We're not done. We have to get a rating for this book that we read.
Yeah, I already got mine. So, man, now are you ready?
No, you go first. I'm ready for you to tell me your rating.
But no, I didn't know if you had one yet because I was I was like raring to go.
Higgins, just rate the book.
All right, I'm giving it a D12. Because, like, the biggest D is 20, and I was like, man, I don't want to give it the biggest D because I didn't like it the best out of everything I've read. But a 12 sounds right. If there would have been, like, somewhere in the middle, I might have gave it, like, a 13 or a 14.
Well, the middle of 20 is 10, technically. You want to give it a 10?
No, I'm talking between 12 and 20. If there was a dice between 12 and 20, I might have given it that. There's not. Not in this, at least.
What about 16?
They don't got a 16-sided dice.
Okay, that makes sense.
They only got the 4, 6, 10, 12, and 20.
What if you took a 10 and a 6? So
No, just one die.
Oh, that's true. Everyone gets 20. One. You're right. I'm sorry.
12 out of 20.
Okay.
Like 13 at most. It took me too long to get into it. If I hadn't been reading it for a podcast, I don't know that I would have made it past the first couple issues.
That's fair.
But I got by the back end, I was there. So
yeah, and maybe it would have kind of made more sense in the beginning if you just were into this stuff as much as Kieron Gillen obviously is.
Yeah,
because he does play this game. There's actually I didn't look it up, but apparently there is a version of this as a game online.
Oh yeah, no, there's all the issues have like these like super long interview thing, and I read like half of one, and he was talking about like, oh yeah, we'll have the rules out here soon.
Cool. And this was made back in, I think, late 2018, 2019. Yeah. So
they're there,
probably there if it didn't get shut down. Maybe a good game. I don't know. It's not really my...
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be that... Might not be my bag, but I mean, I'll play a D&D. I just, man, got to get in there, you know?
Yeah, you got to have that big D12 ready to go. Okay. Well, I guess it's time for my rating.
Yeah, what you got?
Let's find out. I'm going to roll the dice again. And start. Dun, 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 dun. Tell me when to stop, Higgins.
Stop.
Oh, wow. That's convenient. Got a 12 out of 20.
Hey, man, what's your rating bonus?
I'll give it...
You can give it a 0 if you don't got a good rating.
No,
good rating scores.
12's pretty good, but just for, just to sweeten the pot, I'll throw in a very friendly J.R.R. Tolkien cameo. Don't know why he's in there.
So you felt the same then, huh?
I mean, isn't it obvious?
About the same?
Yeah, about the same. Got some issues, but it's a good start, I think.
Super interesting story. Maybe not the best
execution. Yeah, that's fair. This might be the first time we've like really just agreed on a thing. Like,
yeah, super agreed on, especially when it's like divisive like this.
Yeah, normally we just like fight after the show.
It could have really gotten us, but luckily we both felt exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. I'm feeling pretty good after I finished this martini as well. Yeah,
my drink was good. I would have made another one, but gotta get up in the morning, make those breads, as they say.
I need bread to eat. This is the part where normally we would clean up shop and tell you things about the show.
And which book we'd be reading next.
Which we will do. We
got some kind of exciting news before we do that, right?
Exciting for somebody, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
So, our boy, our friend, our pal, Parker Ivy, he has his own podcast.
We've never mentioned Parker on the show.
We've never mentioned Parker on the show.
He's our friend as far as he knows.
And he's also a podcaster. And his podcast is called The Catch-All Podcast. And we were like, you have a podcast? We have a podcast.
There can only be one podcast.
He, she, we, podcast. And so we said, we're going to put them together. We're going to do a mix mash.
A crossover episode.
A crossover episode. Wow. Which works out perfect for us because, comics. It might not work that great for him because he doesn't do comics, but...
And he has no idea what we'll say when we get on a show.
I know. We could literally just say a lot of racist things.
Very crass.
Really tank his viewer base.
Exactly. But he can't do that with us because we've picked a book for him to read and talk about.
No, we won't do that either. But yeah, for this one, we'll be recording it soon. So it'll probably come like... Sooner than our monthly episode.
It's a special episode, isn't it?
Yeah, which is good because we were a little off track anyways.
It's par for the course, really. What book are we doing with Parker's podcast and friends?
We're gonna do Batman versus Predator by... I'm pointing at Snoop because he probably knows more than I do who it's by.
Dave Gibbons.
Nice, nailed it.
Yeah, that's all I know.
Is that the artist or is that the writer?
That's the writer.
Okay.
But he is a very important artist who did a little book that I will mention on that podcast.
All right.
Okay. Don't look it up.
No, I'm not. Yeah. So Batman
It's volume
versus
1
Predator.
of Batman versus Predator. I think it was written in like the 90s.
Volume 1.
3 issues. Shouldn't be anything too dense.
That's probably good for, talking with a group of people
That's right.
that don't have, all those comic book wits and know-hows like us.
Yeah. It's a very nice way to say that. They're not as much of a nerd as we are.
They play a lot of video games and stuff, so
Video games are
pretty
cool, Higgins.
We're pretty even.
Have you seen all the Twitches on video games lately?
Yeah.
It's out of control.
And then I guess we'll give our monthly one too. I mean, we could do it on theirs, but I'll just give you guys what we're planning on reading on the next go.
Oh, this is news to me.
And I want to read Bone finally.
Oh, the book Bone.
The book Bone.
Okay.
With the ghosty.
Yeah, that weird little white ghost thing.
Yeah, and I figured I'd tell you now so we have like a whole month to read it because I think it's a long one.
Is it
a longish one?
It's a pretty big book. What are we reading? What are we doing?
Yeah, Bone's not that long. I mean, it's probably longer than we normally do, but I want to read that one. I thought it was just like a graphic novel. Maybe I'm wrong. It's a series.
It's
Never
a pretty
mind.
long series.
Man, maybe not. I thought it was a long one. What am I thinking of? Maybe that's it. I don't know. We'll read the first volume then. But I want to read Bone.
I always enjoy watching your thought process because the majority of it's out loud.
It's got 55 issues.
It's a lot.
Yeah, we're not reading all those.
Pick a number between one and another number.
This one's it says 145 pages. So that's pretty on par for us.
Tight.
I don't know how many volumes that is. Well, we'll figure it out before we go on Parker's and talk it up.
It's enough.
Yeah.
Just read 145 pages of Bone.
Yeah, just read 145 pages. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
come on. It's probably like 6.
No, Higgins is 145 pages.
It's at least 6 issues, probably,
okay,
right?
Sure, whatever. So Bone, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I want to do Bone.
So we're doing Batman v Predator.
Yeah.
On the crossover.
Picked by our friend Parker and his crew.
Parker and crew. And then we're going to do a regular episode about some issues of Bone. 145 pages of Bone.
Yeah.
That all sounds great to me. I'm on board with at least some, if not all of that.
Yeah.
Cool.
I wanted to do something like, light and
a little
funny.
lighthearted after all this depressing
I know.
D&D stuff we read. That makes sense to me. Okay. Well, that's good to know for me and anyone listening, if they still are at this point. I don't blame them if they're not. But normally after we say all that, we would end the show.
Yeah, clean up shop
and tell
all
socials. Let's tell socials real quick, and then we'll introduce a new segment.
Yeah,
that our friend Andy suggested we do to add a little more extra content to this.
2 shouts out in 2 episodes.
3 shouts out. We shouted out Benji earlier.
I just meant for Andy. He got one last month too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, one more, and he has to sponsor all of our episodes.
Oh yeah, he will have to owe us something.
Yeah,
we're getting his name out there.
He's probably falling asleep by now, so. Little does he know.
But yeah, that sounds good. I'm on the Instagrams at jsturm93 and on the Twitters at MikeHiggins93. And Snoop's not on any of it, so you can find him. You can find him at our Gmail, which is yourcomrades@gmail.com.
Excellent.
And yeah, say words at us, guys.
Say words. Leave a review on the local podcast app of your choice. 1 star, 5 stars, 6. I don't know. Maybe
all of them.
All of them.
If you put a rating on there, we'll probably read about it because we don't get that many of them.
And we do love reading, don't we?
Yeah, we do love reading.
We do love reading. And we love content on this podcast, which is why we're now going into our next new segment.
Will it stick around? Who knows?
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. If people send us questions and ask us to do this segment I'm calling Do This or Do That.
Okay.
It's a little twist on Would You Rather. It's basically Would You Rather. Andy suggested that we do a little something, and I remembered another friend of ours, Reese, just shouts out all day, said we should do something like that. So we're doing it, and Andy sent us the first one. Can you read that out for me?
Yeah, our first prompt. It's on my phone. It's on my phone. On my phone. The thing's on my phone. Would you rather?
No, do this or do that.
Do this or do that. At age 25, immediately look 65 for the rest of your life, yet remain the physical nature of a 25-year-old. Or at age 25, look like that for the rest of your life, but immediately become 65 physiologically.
So yeah, do you do this or you do that? Higgins, you said you had your answer straight up. I want to know what it is.
Oh, straight up, I'm going to be the 65-year-old looking like 25-year-old feeling dude.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah,
I'm
65 years.
I'm 100% going to be spry, just looking a little shabby.
I mean, you're in the peak of your youth right now at age 25.
Yeah, you got to think if like 65, like technology and stuff, I can work that back.
Mm-hmm.
I can make myself look like 60 with the right makeup and stuff, you know.
Just go to your local old person makeup store, just take a few years off. Now,
plus if I ever decide to go to a gym after this happens,
you won't.
I won't, but if I ever did, I could do all those cool videos where people put on old people like costumes and then make fools out of people in their sports balls and the basketballs, you know, when that basketball guy dresses up as an old guy and then he does the dunks.
Yeah, but you'd actually just be old. You wouldn't be putting on a costume.
Yeah, I'd just be old.
Yeah.
But I'd be a 25-year-old body.
Yeah.
Like, you know, muscles and stuff.
Well, that's the
I'd
thing.
be spry.
But that's the thing is like, do you have muscles? Because it's you physically at 25. How many muscles did you have?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Age 25.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. If I hit a gym, I could do that.
Well, I don't think.
But at the end of the day, like, would you want to feel like a 65-year-old just to look like you do now? It's like, honestly, me feeling worse right now and looking the same, that's a straight up double loss.
Mm.
That's a double loss. Because, like, man, pretty normal looking guy here. Don't got to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also old feeling inside. I'm even more sore. I can't get out of bed. I look 25, which means they'll be like, what's this 25-year-old kid just not working, sitting on his butt all day? Why is he so sore? Why is he sitting inside all day? He really needs to get out and see some sunshine. And they wouldn't know.
Mm-mm. No, you'd have to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd get tired of that.
See, I'm with you. Like, I'm doing I look my age, which would be my 60s, but I'm feeling like I was at 25. But that's the thing is, the way Andy put it, whatever your physical state was, like however fit you were at age 25, that's it. That's your peak. You can't train to be better.
Well, that's fine too.
But how fit were you at age 25, the age that you currently are?
About the same. I ran a 5K pretty, like, kind of fast.
Pretty kind of fast?
Yeah, like, it was like 25.
Now,
I mean,
is
not
that
to,
much faster?
Not to brag.
Is that much faster than you could run a 5K at age 65 looking 25?
100%.
I don't know. You haven't done it yet, have you?
100%.
I don't know. Maybe. See, that's the thing is, going by those rules that I was mentioning, I'm probably more fit now than I was at 25. So if I kept up with that, if I just kept up with my fitness routine, I wouldn't be like 25 fit, but I feel like I'd be pretty fit, and I just would look pretty young.
So you would just feel like 40 or 50 instead of 65.
Yeah, but a fit 40 or 50. But
That's
I'd
still-
look 25.
That's still probably like, you know, less than how good a 25. You'll still have the creaks and cracks.
I had plenty of creaks and cracks when I was 25. You remember when I was in that sling for my shoulder?
That's what I'm saying. You had that many creaks and cracks at 25. Could you imagine the amount that you'll get in 40 years?
I mean, I don't have to imagine it. I'll see it eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's, I don't know.
To each his own, but I've made my decision and Snoop's just talked about my decision.
Yeah, that's what we do here. What do you expect?
But
I'm done talking about it.
Yeah, I'm done.
I enjoyed that, though. That was a fun segment we've added for potentially the future.
Yeah, if people send it in, we'll do it. If not, then it'll die on this doorstep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with either one.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me either way. That's cool, though.
More words.
Mm-hmm. But no more words for now. We're done this time.
Yes.
We've said everything we needed to say. You cleaned up the shop already. Dog's still asleep. Don't want to wake her up. So I'm going to let the show go for another month, week, whenever we come back. And until I see you again, I will say cheers, guys. Higgins, it's your turn to say your sign off.
It's my turn to say my sign off. This book was called Die, but dies not the right word. The right word is murder. Bum bum bum.